Today we are gonna look at the France, and we're gonna talk about the population, how they doing, how they used to be in the past, and how I can see it in the future. And probably gonna at the end we're gonna talk about of the migration and what do I think happened there in France and also in the rest of Europe, and how I see that in the future for France. Now, everybody who doesn't know, France is pretty much a truly Western country in Europe. You can see it right here. It's pretty much, you cannot go more Western than that. And pretty much the land is pretty much flat. We have the Alp mountains here in the southeast, and also in the south of the country you have pretty much, my opinion, one of the most beautiful coastline in Europe, and definitely in France. With one of my favorite cities, pretty much Marseille, right there, which they give the national anthem. Now, and here we can see them from satellite. This is Paris. This is how big they are. Let's go back to the population now. France have 66 million people, and you can see here they have a growing rate, pretty much chaotic in my opinion. They go up and down, and you can see what happened here in 2000. They got so fast, so up, and then over the time they kind of go back to the normal rhythm, which is a decline one. Now, as we're talking right now, by the official data, which for France I have a highly doubt that they are exactly how they say, the population is still going up. It's on the ascendant trend, I think they call it right. Now, let's go with the past real quick. 1955, France have 44 million people. As you know, France was pretty much extremely involved in the World War II. I don't remember how many people die from France part, but we can look at that, but I don't think they are insanely many to actually have a huge impact. I mean, they didn't last like half of the country, stuff like that. Now, in 1955, 44 million people. The median age was already pretty high, especially if we compare with the other countries that we have seen in the past days, as Brazil and Argentina. 31 years old. They already start with a pretty old population, in my opinion, especially from the 1955. Fertility rate was 2.7, so nothing amazing, but still well above the replacement rate. And they were like 57-58% of the population living in an urban area, so a lot of the people, not most of them, but a lot of the people live in the countryside, which France in the countryside is not bad at all. Now, they used to have on the global rank 12 in 1955. I keep remember, France used to be, and to some extent they still have their hands on a few let's say former colonies, but France was one of those huge empires with very powerful, very influence in the rest of the world. Now, fast forward 2025, the population grew. Now they measure 66 million. The migration we're going to talk about 91,000, and in 1955 used to be 166, which that's why I kind of highly doubt those numbers, but we're going to talk about in that for a second. Median age grew from 31 to 42, which is more than 10 years, which it's huge in my opinion. Fertility rate got down under the replacement rate, 1.64, and the urban population got up 82%. That would mean like pretty much almost all the people live in the city or a town or some urban area. Now, France occupied the global rank at 23, so they already are out of the top 20. Let's go in the 2050. Let's see, from the 1955 to 2050, pretty much almost 100 years fast forward. The population is gonna peak by those dates, I think like 68 million people, because you can see here it's already 0.01% growing rate, so that's pretty much nothing. Yearly change for 2050 is going to be 5,007. So again, that pretty much by those data, which I think they're not exactly right, that's going to be pretty much the last year when we're going to see an increase in population in France. But I highly doubt that, because those numbers probably gonna peak around 2040, maybe 2035, who knows, 10-15 years from now. You're gonna see those things. The median age, we're gonna be 43 years old to 43.5, so not that much, but already it's pretty much, in my opinion, like I say, pretty high median age for a country, especially when you have those social systems which France have. Fertility rate is pretty much unchanged. They go from 1.64 to 1.65, nothing there, but again, I don't trust exactly those data, so I suspect a few number manipulation there from the government right now, especially on the left one. Urban population from 85 to 91, yeah, increase a bit, but again, it's land of everything. It's pretty much over 90. I consider it pretty much 100% almost urban country. Now, migration. It's something that I cannot overlook, especially with France. And you can see here 2000 and 2005, one of those high, huge numbers, especially early in the early 2000s. Then they say 2015 they have minus 345, so highly doubt that again. But then they go up to almost 150,000, and then this is exactly the number when the pandemic hit. 2022 they go up even more, 180, and now they kind of plateau at under 100,000 migrants. I don't know if it's legal migrants, if it's not, but for the future they estimate the migrants and every year is going to be pretty much around 100,000 migrants. Now let's look at the native population. Let's see what's happened there, because those numbers pretty much they go hand in hand for a lot of reasons, because you can see the early changes. So most of the changes, if those, like I said, I think the migration is much higher than they actually said, and again, we do not count for those people who were born there from the foreign people, from the foreign citizens, let's say. So they calculate that as a France. I think born there, you pretty much at a French citizens, which it's kind of high, at least debatable. Now in the future, pretty much, especially from 2030, if not earlier than that, the migrants is gonna drive the growth of the country. So the native population, they already go down. I suspect even today they're still going down than the migration, but again, I don't trust those numbers. Life expectancy in France always was good, on the uptrend, with both sexes at 83.5 years. Life expectancy female a bit higher as always, 86, and males 80. So you already have pretty much an old population. Infant mortality 3.2, and death under age of 5 3.8. Everything under 5, in my opinion, it means that you're doing really well. Cities is pretty much one city with over 1 million citizens in them. That is Paris at 2.1, which I don't know how they calculate that, because if you go especially with the area surrounding the Paris, probably is going to be much more than that, but I guess they take only the permanent residents in the city. But when it's a work day, everybody knows those people who live around the city gonna enter the city, so pretty much you're gonna feel like you have like 3 million or even more in those days. Marseille, like I say, one of my favorite cities, 870,000, so not even the threshold of the 1 million people. Now, what I want to say about France, about migration, because in the recent years we see, especially in Europe and in Western Europe, a lot of migration, especially France with their former colonies in the Africa. They tend to have a lot of migration for those countries. Now, I never say that migration is 100% bad, but the way the Western European does it, with so many, and the culture are so different between those people, between France and people who migrates there, there's gonna be problem, and we already seen that. And another thing that I wanna remember for those who living in France, and they remember 100% sure, if I remember correctly, 2015, 2014, 2016, around those years, they were happening there, I think, on the weekly basis, which was a time which was pretty much insane. How many terrorist attacks they have there? I mean, they pretty much they couldn't stop it for whatever reason. I don't understand how that bad happened in that time, because I remember now, like I say, every week you have some attack happen there. Now, what French people should do, because I can see it, because everybody knows you have to fight for your country pretty much. You can say that they're gonna just give you a free pass if you don't stay quiet and don't say anything. It's pretty much the same situation with England, which pretty much they get replaced. I think the same thing happened in France too. They trying to replace the population with the migrants, because there are so many of them there. Even when you look at the national football team of France, it's, if you, let's say, cut the flag on those shirts, you will not be able to recognize that that's actually the French football team. This is how out of control this migration happened right now, especially in Western Europe. Now, like I said, when you go to France, you expect to see French people there, but right now, and especially French culture, and it's so, they call it diverse, but I said it replacement culture, not the diversify the culture. It's pretty much a replacement there, what's happened there. I cannot understand why those people, especially who are, let's say, 50, 60 years old, which they used to live in a much different France when probably they were child, they can accept that easy that their governments, they're gonna pretty much replace them. As you can see here, they're gonna have more migrants than the actual growth of the country. So that's a replacement population. You cannot say even at this level that replace your own native population with migrants, it's something good. That you can sell that. That's pretty much impossible. And like I say, if you go to France right now, especially in Paris, somebody said if you leave your motorcycle, let's say, on the overnight in Paris, the next day it's not gonna be there. So probably somebody already stole it. So that's how bad things they got in Paris and also in France overall. Now, how do I see the France in the future? Let's say by the end of the century, I don't see it with good eyes, because I can see a real change, especially from the last. You have pretty much 80 years of the left government, or at least left policy around that. And to ask, let's say, if something changed, let's say a right government entered the table, entered the place, and now they have complete power of the country. You can ask for those government in 5-10 years to reverse engineer what's happened in the last 80 years. So it's gonna take pretty much at least 80 years. So for pretty much everybody, every French citizens that it's now alive, I don't think they're gonna see huge improvement, and at least not how they hope. So by the end of the century, France, I cannot see it go back like they used to be. Especially if you look at the old movies, you can see a clearly difference how France used to be. If you see, I look at those movies. It's a comedy one with, I think the actor is called Louis de Funès, which is a very, very good French actor. I really like it. If you look at the movie and how they shoot those movies, how the life used to be in France, how streets used to look like, how people used to even dress like, but that's a different thing. That's a different topic. You can see a much clearer difference between how France used to be and how France it is right now. And like I say, in the future, I cannot see it, especially for pretty much for this century, the end of the century. I cannot see it go back even to remotely what French people see themselves as a country, and how things they should be for French people. Now, what do we expect for the next few years if you live in France or if you want to move there for whatever reason. I expect the same thing as we have today in France. Left policies, socialism, and high taxes and bureaucracy to the roof. It's just the way it works in Western Europe and especially in France. They are one of those, I think, founder countries of the European Union, so a lot of people say that it's gonna leave the European Union. I don't think that's gonna happen, but who knows in the future. Like I say, it's hard to inverse engineering what's happened, like I say, in the last 80 years. Now, there is still some hopes, like I say, in part in this south of the country, like I say, in Marseille, which is one of the nice cities. You can pretty much stay in the beach and you don't care about anything. And you just don't care what's happening in the north. But if you live in north of France, of Paris especially, you can have some hard time there as a French citizens, I think, especially in the future. Right? And especially if you have some high expectation for the future and for your lifetime, because I cannot see how you're gonna afford to live and buy your own house and not expect to get super mega ultra taxes on pretty much everything you own or everything that you wish to purchase, especially if it's somehow related to the government, a house or a car or pretty much anything that goes under those bureaucracy umbrella and regulation. So I don't see it, like I say, for France for the next few years, and even for the lifetime of pretty much everyone alive in France right now. Those conditions highly improve, or at least not how they expected. Especially that's available for pretty much the Western Europe put together, because let's say they have the same policy: France, Germany, Italy, Spain, also England, Belgium, Netherlands, Denmark, and even those very socialist countries like Norway, Sweden, and Finland, which we used to look at them as a very good example, but now just pretty much trying to avoid it with all cost. So yeah, that was the video about France. If you live in France and you have different opinion than I have, and you want to discuss in a comment section, leave a comment and I will try to respond it as quick as possible. That was for today. See you tomorrow in the next video.